Hey guys, welcome to the KFO show. My name is Daren Wendell. I'm your host. You can find me at Wendell Fishing on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Although YouTube is by far my favorite platform. So guys, I'm excited. Some of you guys are like, "Hey, what are you guys doing on this Tuesday night?" I think last week I mistakenly told everybody that we were not on, which was a big fail because we got the goods tonight. I got John from Creek Fishing Adventures going to be joining us. And so I'm pretty pumped to be talking to him. Hopefully, we'll be taking a lot of the questions from those of you listening in. So if you have a question and you're on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, please go ahead and type in question. I'll go ahead and star that, and hopefully we'll get back and kind of circle around and answer that. Want to give a thanks and shout out to the sponsor of tonight's show, usrivermaps.com. You see one over my shoulder here. If you're on the podcast, you're like, what are you talking about, Daren? These things are pretty sweet. Go over there. I'd like to explain them to you, but it's kind of far in the distance. You're not seeing the detail that I get to see. So if you love waterways, love rivers and streams, John, I know you do. He's sitting in the green room right now, getting ready. Check it out. And I got a deal for you guys: $35 off. Here's the code, cheat code to get that off. But it's only good for another like 4.5 days. So through the end of the year, Jeff, who's the owner of US River Maps, is a listener. He might even be on tonight. So, Jeff, thank you so much for bringing value to the show. Guys, we have quite the lineup over the next 2 months that we have booked out. Check this out. So, of course, tonight we got John. Next week, we got Chris and Drew from the Paddlers Playbook. On the 10th, we got Alex Rudd. The 17th, we got Chad Hoover. 24th, Jeff Mallett from the Kayak Bass Nation. 31st, we got Bass Geek. February 7th, we got Yak Rods. Valentine's Day on the 14th, so go find yourself a date. February 21st, we got Fish Anything. That's the guy who owns Mule Fishing Supply. On the 28th, we got Benjamin Nowak, and I just booked Cass Cray for March 7th. We're already in the March 7th. Guys, this is ridiculous. So I am pumped about the lineup, but instead of talking about the talent we got coming up in the next 2 months, let's talk about the talent we got tonight. John, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Woo,
Man,
I'm all
after hearing
sweaty.
that lineup, I'm really appreciative to be here. Goodness.
What do you mean you appreciate it? If you guys don't know, if you haven't for some reason somehow in this universe not been able to see John's videos, 126,000 subscribers, 37 million views, folks. That is a lot of eyeballs. In fact, that's 74 million eyeballs. That's a lot of people watching your videos. John, tell me the story. What's your YouTube journey, man? I mean, I know a little bit of it, but I've never heard it in its entirety. So lay it on us. Let's go.
Okay, well, it all started a long time ago. So, like a couple of key things, like early on in my life, when I was 4 or 5, we moved to this house that had a little bitty creek behind the house. I lived there for about 4 or 5 years. My dad was a pastor of the church, and we moved a couple of times. He pastored a few different churches and stuff, and so that's the start of it. Like I loved exploring it. I loved to catch the tiniest little darters in there, the crawdads, the tadpoles, catch little fish, and just that's the most fishing I did. I would go bank fishing at a river or a lake if somebody took me, or my parents. We go, to the park or something like that. I remember going out on a boat like maybe twice in my life,
All
like
right.
as a kid. I never went out on that, so I always had that. Growing up, I got into sports, played basketball, and like through high school, and then that that's basically all I did, so like that, and of course work, and then I got into trucks a little bit. I always fished, and then when I moved over here to East Tennessee about 8 years ago is when I kind of started got back into fishing like hardcore, and there's so many creeks around this area. I kind of started getting back into like exploring, and I'm like, I did HVAC, and there was a guy that I worked with, and he liked it also, and he would take me to some of these places, and I'm like, man, I got to go find more and more of these places. So I'm just like all into it. Have time because I kind of give up my hobbies of like trucks and other things. I live in an apartment when I move here, so I'm like I got to find something to do.
Right.
So I just started doing that again, like kind of like picking it back up from as I used to do as a kid, and I love the creek stuff. And this is what probably 7 to 8 years ago. That's when I first started like watching stuff on YouTube. Like kind
Yeah.
of, I always watch it for like Tracy McGrady highlight dunks. That's like stuff like that. Let me see Vince Carter. Let me see what you got. Like that's all I thought YouTube was. And then I like start seeing guys that are like making fishing videos. And so this is what I did. So this is the only reason I am what I am today, because I started searching for creek fishing on YouTube and I couldn't find anybody doing it. If
Nothing.
I would have found people doing it, I never would have tried it.
How
I'm the
long ago
last
is this?
guy. Do what?
How long ago was this?
Probably 7 years ago now.
Okay.
Because well, yeah, I started my channel 6.5 years ago,
Okay.
and I've been doing it full time for 3 years. Three and a half, right? Yeah, about 3 years. So it took me around 3 years or so to kind of build it up and everything.
Well, you skipped like 7 years on us. Go back to pre
Yeah.
going full time.
So so like I'm looking and I start talking to people. I'm like, hey, what if I made fishing videos? And you talk to family, they're like, yeah, that's stupid. So I already know, like, you're never gonna get any encouragement from family. Everything you do is dumb. All we do is make fun of each other. I got 2 brothers and 3 sisters, so all we just pick on each other for everything. I never I didn't even have a computer. I didn't have a camera. I never made a video in my life. Didn't even like post it into Facebook. I'm the opposite of like the social media guy. But I just kept bugging me. I'm like, I want to see somebody just exploring creeks, catching fish, and actually know what they're talking about, or at least identifying them right, instead of, oh man, look at this little fish that bit. That's not what I wanted. I like to catch everything. Like, I don't want to. I'm tired of watching bass fishermen complain about these little bass. Like, I'll take the little bass. I'll be excited to get them,
Right.
or the little bluegill. So I thought about it for like 3 months, and then I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna go. I went and bought a laptop and a camera, and I made my first video that first day. The first day I bought that, I took my nephew and my cousin to this little creek, and we caught like 10, 15 fish in like 30 minutes.
All right.
And I was like, I'm just gonna do it, just see what happens. Like, I don't care if it's horrible. It'll never amount to anything anyways. So that first year, I start in the spring. I do it through the summer. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. I'm showing it to friends at work and like just, people around town. Like, hey, I fished the greenway in town. There's like a little greenway we have. And I'm like,
Right.
look what I caught in there. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. 10 people viewing it. Takes me, well, that summer I did it. I didn't make a single video in the winter. The next summer, I'm like, hey, it's time to start fishing again, like
Okay.
April. And I do it again. And I noticed it grow a little bit. But the biggest thing was I noticed that I enjoyed the journey of it. And that was, that's huge. You have to enjoy what it is. So I enjoyed, like,
journey.
what? This is fun making these videos. This is fun searching out new places. YouTube is pushing me, wanting to make videos is pushing me to go further and further and like find more things to show, because it's just cool to show. And that second year, at the end of the year, it was right around that second year, I finally got to 1,000 subscribers. And I started like messaging other people and like kind of actually started meeting people on YouTube,
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we're kind of sharing ideas, or just like I'm seeing what they're doing. And I'm like, hey, certain people are watching it, I'm making $100 a month. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I might have times off a little bit, but right around 2.5 years in, I actually did a few winter videos, because I never fished in the winter before. Usually I just quit. I'm like, ah.
Right.
So I did a few winter videos, and then that spring, I had one video that got like 20,000 views in like 2 weeks, and I was just blown away.
Whoa.
I'm talking to like everybody at work. Everybody like, had you seen this? Like, this is crazy. They're like, I know, it's ridiculous. And then like a month or two later, that was in March. No, that was in November. And I kind of got a few views to the winter, but then in March that next year, so I think this is like getting close to 3 years of doing it.
Yeah.
I'm at right at like 3,500, 4,000 subscribers. I'm like super happy. I'm getting like 300 or 400 views a video, sometimes 500 views. It's getting consistent. I was making like a couple $100 a month. And I thought this is how it was going to be forever. I'm like, this is it. Like, yeah. I've made it.
Well, yeah,
People
you're
know
paying
me
for your hobby at that point, right? You have made it. You're living the dream.
I thought it was the biggest thing. I had like people, from like Ireland would comment. I'm like, oh my goodness, people know me all over the world. And I'm just like, yeah, this is fun. And I noticed at that moment, that's when I was like, if I could make more videos, I could increase my revenue, and then I would increase the traction, and then that would just, because the way I've seen, I'm like, if I could just do more. So I'm like, I work HVAC, and I'm on call all the time. So you're on call. I don't know what time I get off. I'm on call on the weekends all the time. So it was really hard to take time to go make videos. So I could hit a creek in a couple hours and probably put together a video where I didn't have to have all day. So I just like, I want to do more and more. And I'm getting consumed with this. This is where it becomes a problem. I'm like, man, if I just want to do this. And then it was either March or April. It flipped a switch. I went from 4,000 subscribers to 10,000 subscribers in 1 month.
Jeez.
And I had a couple videos just take off and get like 500,000 views. I have from like the previous year. Like there weren't even new ones. Like I have no reason why. It starts going. I'm hitting it. I'm at like 15,000 subscribers, 2-3 months later. And then I'm just seeing it climb. I'm starting to make, I'm like that month I made over $1,000, and it never has gone down past that again. I went from like $200 to $1,000, and it never dropped lower than that. And like for 4 months, I just saved all the money I made. I probably made like $10,000, and I'm just like saving it because I'm like, if this keeps going, I'm quitting my job. Right. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. And I at this point I'm still like 18,000 subscribers. So I'm like thinking about it. It keeps growing. I hit like 23,000, and I'm like, I'm quitting. Like I'm gonna do it. I don't care if I lose everything.
I mean, ramen noodles
want to do it
if I have to.
Yeah, I was like, I'll go back to working again. Like I don't care. I mean, I'll get to say that I tried something, and I'm not the kind of guy that just tries stuff. So it was different for me. I'm 30 years old at the point. I'm getting more confidence in myself, and I was just growing, and I'm ready to do some kind of risky thing or do something different. Like I need this in my life, I guess. So I turned my notice in. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. Like, you're doing what? Half of them didn't even know I was making any money. I was like, yeah, it's going. I was like, I think I had like 15,000 saved up. I had like 15,000 in my savings, and I'm like, I'll live off this for a while, and hopefully my revenue will catch up.
Right.
And since that point, I quit. I got YouTuber on the rise, like on a couple of videos right when I quit. That's like they do this thing like, I guess you're growing fast or whatever. And that gave me like 1,000 subscribers in like one day because YouTube like promoted my channel.
Oh, I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
I hadn't either. A buddy of mine, Armstrong Homestead, he had a lot bigger channel. He's like, "You're YouTuber on the rise." I'm like, "What is that?" I had to look it up.
You're just tripping over success over here.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's where it started. I quit, and I'm like, all right, let's just start making videos, and let me see how I can just try to improve every day. And I want to get out 3 videos a week. I'm going to actually fish through the winter, try to figure things out. And I've been doing it for just over 3 years. Like, I think it was in September, it was 3 years. I coached basketball. I'm coaching basketball right now. I coached last year, and then I helped like a couple of years ago. So I've been able to do some stuff like that.
Yeah.
For my church. My church has a small school. So it's right down the road. It's real close. So I can do that through the winter time. And I've got to go to Texas, Florida several times. I got to go fish with, you're going to have Ethan on up in Michigan. I got to go fish with him. I've got to go do all kinds. I've gotten to do more fishing than most people will do in their lifetime in the last 3 years. And I'm like, and if it goes away tomorrow, I'm not going to be mad. I'm like, I had an awesome run. But I was talking to a guy the other day. I was like, if it ever stops or if it ever like dwindles, because YouTube's up and down, it's crazy. If it ever dwindles, I'll have to like whatever I go back to, I have to go to it like 100%. I don't think I can mentally like focus on trying to keep YouTube going while doing another job again. It's too much work. Like all I do is this YouTube, and I'm always doing stuff. I'm nonstop, like doing something, editing, answering questions, planning things out. I got a fishing trip tomorrow, 2 hours away. I get up and go to.
I can only imagine with that many, people following, how many questions you get every day. Do you answer all of them?
Some.
I'm about to say.
I try to keep up, but I also block stuff out. I'll especially when I go fishing, or I'll take 2 days and not look at a single message. And I don't care if people get upset or not. I'm like, I'm going to do YouTube the way I want to do it. I'm not going to cater to people, and that's how I've lived my YouTube career. I'm doing it the way I want to do it, making the videos I want to make, and if they like it, they like it. If they don't, I don't care.
Well, people like it. I got some comments over here. Don't you love it? The guys and gals that kind of been with you from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you like recognize your names. Like I love those. I got a bunch of those as well. It's coming from Fishing with Gramps. He just noticed that you're literally excited about every fish that you catch. And you can tell it's genuine. And so love that. What we else had here? Rewind. Come on, man. Glad to have some background noise to go to sleep with. I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a compliment, the fact that you're on, or like I put you on to put because you put me to sleep. I'm not sure.
Hey, as long as they're watching, right? You know,
yeah,
keep it rolling.
I guess. Don't fall
Ads,
asleep,
get to watch
brother.
the ads longer.
Matt's a fishing mission. Creek stomping and bass chomping. Oh, right on. Jeff said it was a great story. So right on. Look at this. Oh, there we go. All right. So I noticed in a lot of your videos, you do a lot of ultralight. So it makes sense that you and Ethan from Fish Anything would kind of like connect. So I talked to the Burley Fishing guys last week, and they're all about ultralight fishing.
Yeah.
Ultra. That's all they're actually they're working with Monster Bass. I think it's Monster Bass to get their own ultralight fishing rod, kind of named after kind of what they do, which is pretty rad. So walk me through why you love ultralight applications. Now, I typically will be fishing not rivers, like lakes and ponds. That's just like what's around me that's accessible. I only fish rivers and streams. So I'm not very good at it whenever I travel for work, which is about once a month. So I'm really interested in how you identify, how you find, kind of you just rolling down a road and you're like, you pass over a bridge. You're like, I'm going to do that. I got so many questions. So first, let's talk about ultralight. Two, let's talk about how you identify the places where you do fish.
Ultralight, like when I first started my channel, I was throwing like using a $10 rod, and like 6-pound line, and I could just throw little lures. And I've learned to like do a lot more ultralight rods and setups, and just gotten better with that. But I have up from $15 rods to $120 rods. Probably I don't have like super expensive stuff for ultralight stuff. You can get all kinds, but most of them are just, it's either a light action. Like I like a light action better than an ultralight. And me and Ethan argue about this. He likes ultra just because I don't know what it is. I want a little bit stiffer, but there's so many rods that in the action and like the way it is made, there's so much different rods and different setups you can use. A fast, extra fast tip, moderate tip, all these different things that I didn't know anything about until I really I've gotten into it, and I'm still learning all the time. So like I like a 6 foot light rod, 4-pound mono or fluorocarbon. Doesn't sometimes I'll even throw braid on there, like a 6-pound braid.
Okay.
And I can throw a 1/64 ounce jig head and a 1-inch bait, or maybe 1/32 ounce. My favorite is probably 1/32 ounce, and with size 6 or 8 hook, just a tiny little hook, little bitty weight ahead, little bitty, Bobby Garland or something like that. And you can literally catch any kind of fish in the creek, from a bluegill to, 3-pound bass or something that wants to bite it. So that right there lets you just be very diverse and catch lots of different species. So you don't even know what you're fishing for. I could be just fishing for whatever's trying to bite, and because you could be, it could be 10 different species in that creek that will eat that lure. So you're really opening up your, target for what you're wanting to catch. And like, a 6-inch bluegill hits it and it's pulling, and you feel it. You feel the tug, you feel the bite, and it bends your rod, and it may even pull a little drag on, something. Then you hook into a 1-pound bass and it feels like you got a monster on.
Right.
But I like to get everything I can get. If I'm doing that type of fishing, I want to catch like everything I can catch. Like just anything that wants to bite, I don't really care. I just want them all.
I want all of them. I'm going to collect them all. That's it. I love it. So let's talk lures a little bit about ultralight. Now, I'm sure talking to Ethan, I'm sure you tried out the donkey tail and the junior. Those are the ones that stretch kind of like Z-Mans do, right?
They got stretch on.
I need to get my hands on those before spring comes around. That's for sure. But walk me through I mean, what you fish, top water in the streams. What's like your confidence baits? You're at a new stream. What are you pulling out guaranteed first?
Um, if I it depends on the size. Like if it like I'll look at it and look first. I look at it like how big is it, and try to break it down. Like, do I think there's bass in there? Because some streams, if I'm bass fishing, it's a whole nother setup. That's a whole different thing I'm doing. But if I'm just ultralight fishing, like for whatever, like a trout magnet lure,
Yep.
um, such a good lure that will catch literally almost everything in there. Um, 164th ounce, 132nd ounce jig head, or I work with Pradco as like Yum and stuff like that, and Bobby Garland. So I got like all the Bobby Garlands I could ever want. So I get to try out all different types of go. It's so hard not to go with that because they're just a perfect little size and they just got a good little body to them. And it's you can flick them in. If I lose them, I lose them.
Right.
But I can flip them in a little hole and just you don't. I mean, is it a crappie in there? Is it creek chub? A shiner, whatever is in there, a warmouth, something. I'm just trying to get it. And then like usually those little smaller creeks where I'm doing that, like if I catch one fish, I'm throwing back that same spot. You can catch 10 fish from one little hole that's in a little undercut or something like that.
Yeah.
So, but if in the summertime when it gets hot, there's some you can use little crankbaits and stuff like that. But I like using a little lure like a bobby gar, like a little minnow lure, and then I like using a rebel crick hopper.
Yep.
I got one here,
Oh yeah, those have been around. Oh heck
but
yeah.
I think this may have been the lure that I used when I was a kid. There was a lure that I used when I was little, and I never remember what it was, but it was similar. I remember that action, and I love those little things because they just that's you can do a lot of stuff with it, but the way the fish hit it is more fun to watch the fish hit it. And you might miss a lot of them, but man, when they're ready for that thing, they explode on it because it's like a little cricket, or a bug or inchworm falling in the water. They just wham, first one to it, and that's where casting makes such a big difference. You have to really practice your casting and be good at casting and maneuvering because where these places are, there's trees hanging every which way, and you're,
Yep.
flicking it this way, that way, this way, trying to get that cast right on top of them, and then boom, they're on it.
That's
But
one thing I noticed by watching your videos today. I mean, you got every reverse roll, side, up, down, and you had control like that rod was part of you. Now, granted, when you fish every day, you dial that in real
yeah,
easy, but it was really it was really neat to watch you do that. You're like, you knew where you wanted it. I'd be like in the trees and have to go down and like get it again and out of the branches because if I was throwing it like you, I'd definitely be in trouble. Um, let me see what
yeah.
I got.
I make a lot of risky casts, and but that's part of it. But yeah, I do it all the time. So and I really like that combat style fishing where I'm in there with the fish. Like, all right, I got this much room. All right, how am I gonna angle this rod to flick it right where I want to flick it? And that's where you don't want too long of a rod. If you get, that's why I hardly ever use a 7 foot rod, which is like a standard, like, fish. So everything is usually smaller, 6 foot or something like that, especially in
Okay.
high areas. Um,
Here we got.
and
Oh, go ahead. Keep going.
yeah,
No, I was just gonna read some of the comments over here. Dobbins Fury 6'1" light 6'6". Okay, there we go.
yeah. 6'6"
Um,
is yeah, that's Chris. He actually lives right down the road from me.
no, there you
We
go.
we fish all the time.
I love it. Let me see what we got over here. Oh yeah, hey everyone, basketball's big for your goal.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, I put that together.
let me see what else we got here. Oh, we just answered this question from Jigga with Jimmy. Um, used to use everything. Used to fish nothing but Mr. Twister grubs in the river I grew up in. I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up in the rivers. And in fact, watching some of your videos, Pala Raps, yep. Watching some of your videos today, a lot of the places that you fish, I gotta be completely honest with you, I would have just been like, "There's nothing in there." But you also have to have a love for all
Mhm.
fish, not just this kind of thing that we do in bass fishing. Biggest is best, and if it's not 4 pounds or more, it's not even worth taking a picture of. And you know what? I think it kind of, I might even be a bit, um, man, it falls on me as well. I want to get back to the pure love of fishing, whether you get the one half, 3/4 pounder, or you get the 6 pounder. Man, I really need to. It's all perspective. So I love talking to you because when you're going into the rivers, you're likely not grabbing giants or what a giant to be for that stream or whatever it is.
And
So
that's what's fun is catching that fish that is the king of that hole.
yeah,
It could be a 7-inch green sunfish, and you're like that dude is, and he's like built, and you're like that dude is the king of that spot right there. And then you'll come across something else. But like I went out today just to my little creek, and I caught 3 fish. They were all about that long, but like the little creeks just shut down around pretty much everywhere. If you're not looking for trout, I can go catch trout, but mostly I'm talking about like warm water species
okay,
and
all right,
stuff. But I caught a creek chub, a shiner, and a tiny little bass.
tiny.
Yeah,
I mean, the fact that you can catch something that tiny actually takes some skill because, I mean, that's
yeah.
casting such a small thing and such a. I mean, oh man, I love it. I
And
need to
that's
go
where
back.
you have to have the right like. I've got a lot of people come to me like, "How do you cast lures that far?" Well, first off, on camera, you can't tell as well, but like having the right rod with the, makes a big difference. You got to have it be able to whip it, just like a bass rod. You're throwing a lure. You want that flex. If
Yep.
you're throwing a really small lure, you don't have any flex. Even with that small lure, you're not going to go very far with it.
Hmm.
My favorite one is what I use today right now is a 6.6 TFO rod, $100 rod. It's a light
Okay.
action, and I got 4-pound mono on it, and I was throwing the trout magnet.
All right.
But I can still whip it. It's fun. Look at those little holes. And it sinks so slow. And I'm fishing in like 2 foot of water, probably. Like the deep hole of this creek is 2.5 feet. So, that you want that slow drop to get through there. Give that fish time to hit it. I
Yeah.
like to hit it on the fall. Where if you're using something real heavy, if you're going through there with a little heavier jig, it's bam, just hitting the bottom right away, and they might not pick it up.
Makes sense. So I got questions left and right over
Go
here.
ahead.
TMOC. What's the number one thing, plan, tactic for new lakes, creeks, and ponds? So walk me through your brain. Um, are you just walking over these things by accident? You drive by and you're like, hey, next time, and you drop in on that,
So
or do you have some type of plan or thing that you kind of go through your mind to identify new ones when you're going somewhere?
if I'm going here, I'm not even looking at the pond. I'm skipping the lake. I'm going right to the creek or the river. I don't even care about the other two really, unless I've already fished. If I haven't fished the creek and the river in the area, that's the main things I want to fish. Like that's what excites me: moving water, flowing streams, just getting in there. But find an access point first thing. I do. I'll drive around and just look. I didn't notice that, or by now I've noticed everything around me. But I was somewhere a couple hours ago. Oh, when I was coming back from Florida, I was driving and there was a spot like 3 hours away. I looked over like, man, I'll mark that on my maps. If I'm ever back in the area, I'll look at I'll see it. Mark it. I'll mark it. And I'll try to come back here, or maybe I'll just plan a trip to. It looked really cool, so I'm like, maybe I'll just plan a trip to go there one day and just explore it. I love exploration, and I love like you can get to almost every fish in a creek and most rivers. Let's just big rivers, but like in a lake or pond, I feel like I don't know where the fish are. I have no idea what they're doing. There's so much water here,
Yeah.
especially in lakes. We got I live 30 minutes from Lake Chickamauga. You
Mm,
know, all these lakes. I don't care to go out in the lakes. I don't go out there and fish, but all the creeks that run into them, man, they're fun because they are loaded with fish,
right.
and there's so much diversity. But so if say I find a creek or a river, I look for public accesses. Look for drive around all the bridges, every bridge that on that, and see if people get off park there or not. If I see people where it's normal where people park there, I'm like, okay, that's access. I'm jumping in. If I don't see
Right.
any no trespassing signs, I'm going for it.
Do you ever get yourself in trouble, accidental trouble? You don't sound like the guy who tries to do it on purpose,
Yeah,
but
I've gotten asked to leave one time, and I've gone to a million places.
just once. Was that the
Yeah.
video I saw where the landowner told you to get off his half of the river?
Well, that was a weird one. Okay, we'll
All right, let's
count that
talk
as
about this
twice.
real fast. We got to talk about this. So I'm gonna set up the video. Well, you set it up for us. You were there, but I watched the video and I was like, I heard what you said, but then I
Yeah,
read all the comments and I was like,
yeah, you can't.
was
Yeah,
John right?
yeah.
It's so flipping confusing. So walk us through what it
It
was
depends
all
on how
about.
you read
That's what's
definition.
crazy.
But
And I
so
want to know
me,
like my rights. So I
yeah,
don't want, I don't want to trespass, but then again, I also want to be able to defend myself. And
yeah.
it's crazy. So walk us through that whole scenario
So
real quick.
first off, every state has its own rules on what is a navigable water, what you're allowed to access, what does the landowner own? Do they own the bottom of the river? Do they own up to the high water or low water mark or whatever it's called, the flood zone or something like that? Do they own the water? And in Georgia, they're one of the strictest about this. So if it's private property on the sides of the river, the homeowner owns the bank, and the bottom of the river all the way to the middle of that stream.
Mm.
Unless they own both sides of it, then they own the whole bottom.
If it's not navigable.
Well, navigable for them is like barges going down it.
Right.
So nothing is navigable unless you're talking like a giant river.
Okay.
So basically everything. So any kind of if it seems like it's a creek or a small river that it's 30 feet wide, all of them are the owner owns. And technically, like if you really read it and talk to like the officials, they can control sort of what happens on their side of the water. Like for sure, you couldn't go down on their half of the creek. You couldn't drop an anchor and fish there because your anchor is touching their property.
Right.
Technically, you can't even fish there if they don't want you to cast on their side of the water.
Yeah, because the guy asked you to go to the other side.
Yeah, which is the stupidest thing. And I wouldn't care. Like, but his whole thing didn't even make sense. He's like, "Oh yeah, you can fish on that side, just don't fish on this side." I'm like, "What does that even matter?" Like, every state if you look at the laws are a lot stricter than most people think, but people don't enforce it, and they'll probably never change these rules. These are all laws from like the 1700s and stuff.
Yeah.
Like technically, I wade creeks all the time in Tennessee. I'm trespassing. Well, I'm going on people's property, but they don't care. That's the thing. The owner has to care to make an argument about it. Right. And if they say something, then the law has to enforce it. Because I've talked to so many people, and police officers don't even know. They don't know that, but like the official like the TWRA people here, and half time they don't know. They're like, wait, I don't know what is the rule, but they don't care until the homeowner or to the landowner makes a complaint about it, because it is a lot of gray area. But Georgia, and I've heard Georgia and Colorado are like two of the worst. And then there's some states that like if it's any kind of waterway, you can walk it. Now in Georgia, they can't stop them from just kayaking through. So you're allowed to float through, but he can tell me I can't fish his side.
And you have to leave.
I could fish on the other side, or I could just float through. So
this river is like 30 feet wide, and this dude's like, I need you to leave and fish on the other side of the river.
Yeah, he owns like 100 yards of it. Like his 100 yards is like, he's really worried about that. I'm like, why does that even matter? Like I was going to float through anyways and he starts yelling at us.
Yeah, like 30 seconds, you're probably gone off to the next thing. Stephen M., this exact same scenario is playing out where I live right now. He says it's crap. Stephen, write a little bit more detail. What's actually playing out? I'm curious. So give us a little bit more context. We'll circle back on that.
They've been having some big time debates. I don't know, legislation or whoever does that. Because the Flint River is like a well-known river that people guide on for shoal bass and stuff. And there's parts of it, and there's parts of it where the homeowner says you're not allowed to fish through my section. And the guides technically, when they get to that section, they have to tell their clients, no fishing through here till we get through this area. Then you can start fishing again. It's crazy. And like a lot of that's a big wide river where there's lots of shoals. Like if you got out and if you were just getting out to get your kayak over a shoal, like they could complain about you. You're on my property, and you could be 30 feet away from 30 feet out in the middle of it or something.
Right.
So it's,
are you noticing this to be more of a problem in the past kind of 7-8 years that you kind of been into it? Or is it just like the same? It's really gray.
It's very gray, and I haven't noticed any more of it. Like this was the first time I ran into it, but once I had this problem and I had this video, a lot of the guys from Georgia that commented, like those are the people you can listen to. It's all these guys like, oh, that's not the rule, blah, blah. Like they don't know what they're talking about. It's different everywhere you go. But the Georgia people were like, yes, that's the rule, and we have dealt with this in other situations. But it's only the people that want to put up a fuss about it until they change the like waterways to like, it's free use for whatever you want to do. Right. But I mean, I can see both ways. If you own some land, you bought this big old piece of land, and like this guy was a new guy. He had moved there recently, So now he thinks he has his own private stream, and all of a sudden there's all these people coming through fishing.
Yeah.
And
Or
they do
tubing and
and
canoeing.
tubing. They have a tubing service through there too. He's complaining about that. So I don't think they're going to have the state will shut him down, but it depends on whoever has the money, whoever's making the decisions.
Yeah.
Is it the landowners lobbying it, or the recreation people are trying to fight back or whatever? But I feel like somebody's gonna have to make a decision about it, because I feel like more and more people will complain, and then it'll get brought up more. But it's very touchy, and that's where now I know not to argue. I thought I was in the right saying, yeah, I can. How can you tell me I can't fish in this water? I'm like, there's no way you can tell me that. And that turns out I was wrong.
Know your state regulation. Well, there's a big argument if you read back through all of your comments, and I don't know if this even holds any weight at all, but there's federal law and then there's state law, and does one supersede the other? Yeah. Does state law matter? And then it's even more gray. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I read a bunch of that. I stopped reading stuff because I don't know who to.
It went on forever.
I was thankful. Keep on commenting, people, please. That video did good just because so many people were interested in it. And telling me I'm wrong or telling me I'm right. I'm like, I don't care. Just comment, say what you want to say.
Yeah.
You don't know.
Well, Steven, thank you. He said, do a Google search on the DuPage River and the Plainfield, Illinois river rafting business. The DNR is involved. So I imagine there's some homeowners who don't want the party barge rolling through their backyard every day at 3 p.m. Interesting. Low life. In Ohio, local governments try to buy out all the lands near the waterways. Go Ohio. Where I'm from. Love it. All right. So now, this is Kayak Fishing Obsessed, right? So I know you got kayaks. I've seen them. You've had multiple kayaks over the years. Share your journey of kayaks. I want to hear kind of what you've had, how you upgraded with, what you have now, and kind of what you love and hate about all of them.
Yeah, when you asked me, I'm like, I'm not an expert on kayaks, but I have had an interesting journey this last 4 years. So I think I'd already been doing my channel a couple of years, and there were some rivers that I was like, I'd never floated a river or never I kayaked one time with a friend like 10 years ago, and just on a lake. So I'm like, this kayaking sounds awesome. Like, you can get to explore places and do things. So I finally went and bought it like an $800 kayak from Dunham Supply, the Pelican something. It was a fishing one.
All right.
And I thought that was an expensive one. It was like, it was like $7 something. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm buying the high end one. Yeah, little did I know.
Not sure Pelican is the brand for that, but yeah, go.
Yeah.
So they do have like a hyperdrive thing. Now has like a
they get all kinds of stuff now.
Yeah, they're still kicking.
Like, so I buy this. I bought this kayak. It's like I think it's 12 foot, and I think I took it out a couple times, like stuff. But the first trip I did, like, we're gonna float this river that's close to me. It's a skinny river. It's about the same size as river that was in that video about the landowner. So it's like there's shoals where you're gonna get out and like drag a little bit. Then there's some deep holes and cuts. And I'm going with two other guys, and one of them's experienced. Both the other guys are kind of experienced kayakers, but it's just an easy flowing river most of the time. A couple sharp turns. So the first time, so we're going great, catching all kinds of fish. It's like a really good summer day, and there's two guys in front of me. The first guy goes through this like little sharp little cut, and there's like a little eddy. He just goes through and goes over in the side. Next guy goes through and gets stuck like right in the current. His fishing rods get stuck in an overhanging bush.
Okay.
And I'm already in the current, and I'm like coming behind him, and I'm already got grabbed by the current. I can't stop. And it's just a narrow. So I run in him, turn sideways, and I'm like, oh, this ain't good. And he never moves. He finally gets out of the way. I'm reaching up to grab like something. My kayak turns. I flip over. I'm stuck in this current, like 4 foot deep, but I can't stand up because the current's so strong. I can't remember which hand it is now. It was my right hand. My right hand is stuck in a tree, and I'm not under the water. I'm like surfing on the water, sort of, just in like fast current. And I look, and I'm like, what's going on? My hand. So he had a crankbait. Got stuck in the tree. The hook got stuck in my finger.
No.
It's not like super deep or anything, but it's just I cannot get it out. and I'm stuck in this tree. I have to reach over, grab my pocket knife, cut the braided line to
As you're
free
surfing.
myself. Do
As
what?
you're surfing.
Yeah, all
Where's
this
your
is going
kayak?
on.
Is it
My
down the
buddy, I
river?
look over my buddy. He's like the guy I knew closer. He's like, I can't get to you because the current was too strong. He couldn't walk over there. I was like, I'm okay. So I'm like, well, okay. I just cut the line and float back. Just like 15 feet or 10 feet where I can like get a little calmer water and stand up. It was a crazy one. Thing happened so fast, and like I never would have thought in a million years. After that point, I've worn my life jacket in every moving water. Like it doesn't even matter how deep it, because this is like 2-foot water most of the time. But
Right.
I'm like, what if I was stuck under the water and couldn't get free? And with that current is so people, if you've been current, it's deceivingly strong. Like
Yes.
it is ridiculous. Even if
Yes.
it's like 3 foot deep, it doesn't even matter. So like I lost a GoPro, I lost some lures, I lost some stuff. Flip back over, fish the rest of the day. I cut the hook off where I just had a little bit sticking out. It wasn't really bad. It ended up not being that bad, but it was just kind of hanging in there. Caught some more
You didn't even
fish.
try to take it out. You just left it in. You cut it.
Well,
flush.
I tried. I couldn't get it free, and then finally, when I got home, I could like wiggle on it, and I wiggled it loose. So, but yeah, that was an experience where I'm like, it was my first time ever doing like a float too. But I fell in love with floating rivers. Like,
Okay.
have you ever done that? You ever gone a river like start at one point, take out another point?
I have, but not fishing. I've done it like canoeing.
Okay.
I think I would love it. No, Carolina. Before we move on to this, Carolina bass hunter, and this is all video, right?
Yeah. Hey Kyle, what's up? Hey Kyle, watch a lot. Yeah, this is a video. This is like maybe 3 years ago now.
All right.
But yeah, because I lost one camera, but I had another camera rolling, so it got part of the view, and I still had some stuff from the video where I caught some fish. But I kind of just told the story at the end, and yeah, it was crazy. But that is becoming my most favorite way to fish. And if you can put in, especially like a skinny river, it's scenic. You're by yourself. You're going through. I always say that in a river float, you're fishing the least pressured fish that you could ever come across.
Right.
Because those fish are doing their own thing. They're totally wild, totally not used to people, unless there's people like nonstop.
Right.
But most of these little streams like that are just nobody fishes them through the winter. They get left alone, and then maybe people are going down on Saturdays or something like that.
Yeah. You
But,
know what? The lakes and ponds that I fish around here, they're just getting more and more congested and saturated. And then, everyone's yelling at each other because they're within whatever distance they feel is the right distance that you should be away from them. And so I'm starting to kind of fall more and more in love with the idea of floating. It's just a little extra work, right? You typically have 2 people, you got to do an extra driving, and you got to time it all out correctly. But I can only imagine that fishing is so much better. One, it's just you and your buddies, right? You're not going to run into anybody necessarily, very rarely. And like you said, it's unpressured water. So, man, I think I definitely I just need to do the research around me.
Yeah, it is more work, but the payoff is so much better. It's a fun. You're having fun no matter what. Like you're getting to float, especially if it's in the summer. Say it's 9 degrees outside. There's probably shade. I'm usually dangling my feet in the water, or I can stop and jump in anytime I want. It's just you get to flow with the current. All that stuff. Now, if you like, I'm going to fish a river tomorrow. I'm actually meeting with Alex Rudd tomorrow. You said you're going to have him on.
Yeah, I saw next week.
Yeah, I was like, okay. So we're going to a big river in Knoxville area. And this is a little bit bigger river, but we got 3 of us going, and we could be 3 deep going down the same bank, and we're not fishing. We could all be catching fish, or like there's so much to cast at that you can't just pick apart a spot unless you just stop there. So on a lake, you can just find a point or a log or something. You're like, I'm going to fish here for 30 casts. Like on a river, you're just casting, moving. And everybody can be catching fish. Like you could have, and I've done this so many times where I'm the 3rd or 4th guy back in a little river, and I catch more fish than the guys in front of me. It all depends on where you cast or what's going on. So
yeah,
making accurate casts is the hardest thing though. Like because you're moving, and usually you got 1 shot, maybe 2 to get a good cast. If you see a stump sticking out or a little break,
right. Well, it's
So
kind
yeah,
of fun though, if you think about it. You're like, all right, I gotta nail this, or I just don't have an opportunity today.
yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
Do
And
you
if you
go?
catch a fish, you got to fight them in while you're moving. That's a whole nother thing. Like you got to get used to because you got to be what. It's easy to like run into something because you're fighting a fish in, and it turns you around, and you're like, oh, there's a log sticking out by the flip or something, or there's overhanging trees. I got to have all my rods down, or this branch sticking out or something like that. So it's you're right there with it for sure. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot of action going on. And then when you're done, when you get to the takeout point, okay, our day's done. We know when we're starting. We know when we're
It's
stopping.
true. You
When
said
we
no
get
more
there,
one last cast. I guess you can stick around
yeah.
the takeout point and goof around for a while.
Usually by that time, everybody's wore out, and we're like, okay,
Yeah.
we either
How
caught a
long?
lot of fish or we didn't catch a lot of fish. Either way, we're tired and ready to go.
Here's a question I have. So if I'm getting ready to go out and try it, maybe for the first time, do a float. How many? How long do you recommend? And for like, okay, I want to go out for 4 hours. Like, how many miles should I plan out? Is there a general rule of thumb for
I
that?
like to do 5 to 7 mile floats for the most part. And we're going to do a 10-mile float tomorrow, but it's a big river with constant flowing water.
Mm,
Now, it depends on how small it is. The smaller the water, the longer it takes. And the smaller the water, the more like holes you can kind of spend time on.
okay.
Bigger river, you're kind of always moving. And, it depends on the current. Like most of our rivers are controlled by dams. So, like, how fast is the current flowing? Um, Are you going to stop at shoals, or is there slow sections of the river? Like some rivers will have current and then big, long, slow sections where you basically got to paddle through.
Mm,
But, a mile to 2 miles an hour if you're fishing. Um, if a mile an hour is going really slow, if
got it.
you're like really taking your time,
Yeah.
but it's easy to go 2 miles an hour. So yeah, most time I like to do. There's one section I do by me that's 5 miles. But there's like a mile section that goes by really fast that you don't catch a lot of fish from,
Mm,
and we'll do that 3.5 hours.
all right.
But that's 3.5 hours usually pretty good fishing. Like it happens pretty fast. And next time I do it, I'm gonna slow down. And then there's another river I've done. It's a 6 mile stretch, and every time I've done it, it always takes longer than we think. It'll take 5-6 hours, and that's on the water time. That's not counting the driving your truck to the takeout, loading,
Right.
going to the put in, going down, getting out, then coming back up, get your vehicle. So all that factors in. Could be an extra hour or two there, just kind of doing all that running around stuff.
Huh.
So
Well, I
that
want to.
takes away a little bit of it, but it's like once you get everything out of the way, everybody gets out in the water. You're like, boom, we don't have nothing to worry about for 6 miles till we get to the takeout.
Sounds
It's
amazing.
nothing but fishing.
Oh, I need to do it. I'm just gonna drive down to Tennessee and go fishing with you.
We got all kinds of places. I got a lot. I even have more. I'm like working on like there's places near me, 30, 40 minutes away that I haven't done yet. That I'm like, I just haven't had a guy like the set up to do it.
Right.
So I want to explore more and more. But yeah, come on down. I gotta as long as it's in April, probably about April. Most of my littler creeks, the streams, they start getting good. The bigger
Okay.
rivers you can still do, but I like to, for the most part, late March, April time before I start really floating a lot of the smaller waters.
Do you have like a power pole in your yak to kind of stop if you needed to?
No, but that would be nice. Yeah. Now I don't actually have a lot of stuff on there. I like another thing about like these small rivers. I like to keep it as simple as possible.
Right.
So I didn't finish. So my kayaks, if you want to hear,
I do.
I forgot the next step was so once I got into, I started with that Pelican, and then I started doing some rivers. I started going to the lake every once in a while. I hated going out to lakes, like you said. I would go out in the summer, go out Chickamauga Lake, and there's not a bank that hasn't had a boat go down it 5 times
Mm,
by 9 o'clock. Probably it's crazy. It's like what you're talking about. Like I don't like. How am I going to outfish these guys? I don't know anything. But that's where the kayak I've learned to like. You got to look for these little out of the way places and little spots and different things to get into. But so I started doing kayak tournaments 2 years ago, 2 years and 2 months ago. I did my first kayak tournament, and it's because I saw Alex and my buddy Josh, who I'm meeting with tomorrow. I saw them doing it, and they would post videos. I'm like, that looks kind of fun.
yeah.
Like, I never thought I would do a tournament. I just always thought, boat fishing guys that know everything and have 100 rods in their boat. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I see these kayak tournaments, like, you know what? These don't look too bad. You only got to catch 3 fish, maybe 5 fish, to have a limit. And so the first one I do is on that Pelican. It's a windy day, the water's choppy, and I am so miserable. I hated it. I quit like an hour early because I was just tired of fighting the wind. I'm just
Huh.
getting blown back, trying to paddle my way back up, getting blown back. I catch some fish, but I was just so aggravated by the end of the day. I'm like, this is not fun. Um, I do like 2 on that, and then Old Town. So Old Town sends me a kayak
Okay.
for free. They're the PDL 120. So,
Oh,
12-foot pedal drive,
nice. See, I'm a big pedal drive fan.
life changing. Like,
It is life changing. You don't need an anchor. You just nonstop. You control the wind.
yeah, I would have never have known how much I would have liked that kayak, and like how I've used that. I've taken that kayak so many places. Like, it's insane. I've done a ton of river floats with it. That's what I did river floats with too, because it's so stable. It weighs, I think, 90 something pounds. I think without the drive.
Okay,
I think
that's
that
still a
one
heavy
does.
kayak. That's a beast.
Yeah, and I'll still drag it in places, and like I'll take it anywhere. I'm like, dude, this is because it's so comfortable and so stable. I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about leaning over and tipping out. But yeah, I'm not. It's not great for paddling, but if I'm in a lake or a big river, I can pedal. I'll pedal upstream and like fish stuff. And dude, I've gone so many places because of that kayak where I never would have gone before. And you can stay out on it 8-9 hours, and doesn't just kill you. You're like, okay, my
All
back will be
right.
a little sore, but you're not just like, I hate the seat on this thing. Like, well, that's what I hear from everybody with kayaks. Like, I can't stay out in my kayak more than 3 hours. I'm like, well, how much did you pay for your kayak?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
$300.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. You could almost do it by hours. $300. Okay, you got you bought yourself an hour on the water
Yeah.
before you start going
So
from
yeah,
there.
so I got that pedal drive, and the first time I had it, I won a kayak tournament. The first tournament I used it in.
Nice.
It was pretty cool. And I've won, like, in my little local group, we have 25 to 30 people that go to these tournaments. I've won a couple. That's been really cool to do. I've come in pretty far in the low end also a bunch. But I've enjoyed the kayak tournaments because we go to like a different lake. We have so many lakes around us. We can go to about a different lake every time.
Right.
And then we have one coming up in January that's a honey hole. You can pick anywhere within 100 miles of this like one
Oh,
spot.
nice. Yeah.
And then we have a river one where we do river floats. You can pick a river, but you have to fish a moving water
Okay.
within a certain area. So that's the kind of stuff that really drew me into kayak tournaments. Now I just watched some of this Chad Hoover stuff and like some of these kayak tournament videos, and those big time tournaments, like, I don't know if that stuff's kind of pushing me away from it. Just because there's like, I don't know, because I don't know that much. I'm not a boat fishing guy. I don't have a
Right.
background of like that, and I like the kayak because it's so convenient and easy. But I am fishing in the Bass Nation national tournament in March. It's
Okay.
here at Chickamauga. I made it to that somehow. I'll probably I don't plan to do very good, but it's gonna be cool to do. I've never done anything like that, so
Well, if you
it'll
don't
be the
plan to
biggest
do any
tournament ever
good,
done.
you can always surprise yourself, right? So
Yeah,
you could always for the better.
if I
Yeah, I
don't get
think.
last, I'm happy with that one.
Well, I think it was funny when you were sharing your story about basically being connected to a tree and by a by a crankbait.
Yeah,
Do you ever want to know? Rewind is still awake and commenting as of that conversation, so
you
he
won't
is
get
not sleeping yet. He's still awake, so that's good. Keeping people alive. I actually did hear someone say that, hey, no offense at all. I put on the burly guys whenever I'm falling asleep. Respect. So appreciate that. So do you still have that Old Town?
Yes, I have. So I got the Old Town 120, and then Old Town sent me another one. I like reached back out to him, and then because I'd use that in I don't even know how many videos. It's probably 100 videos, and then they sent me the 106, the pedal
Okay.
drive, and that's an awesome little kayak. I really like it. It's not as big and quite as stable, but I took it up north when I went, and I did all kinds of stuff in it, and then I just got. I started working with a company close to me. It's a Frontier Outdoors. It's about an hour away, and they're a dealer for Crescent,
Yeah.
and they gave me a Crescent Shoalie,
Okay.
and I finally used it for the first time when I went to Florida. So that was my first time in it. Because my goal, like they reached out to do a partnership, and I'm glad that worked out. I can kind of promote his place, but my goal is to be as experienced as I can on like creeks and rivers. Like that's what I want to know. That's what I want to be able to help people with. That's what I want to have knowledge on, and especially in kayaks too. Like I want to know, like they're coming out with these river kayaks. Like I want to be able to have experience using those and sharing them with people. Like
Yeah.
I'm making enough money. I'm living good off YouTube, but I can't just buy anything I want. So whenever I can get people to send me something or get something for free, that that really helps out. But I'm glad to do it, knowing that I can help other guys that are like river guys like me or creek guys. Like the Crescent Shoalie is 77 pounds. It's not near as stable as the Old Town, but man,
Right.
it cuts through water crazy. Like with paddling it, I can paddle it up current, turn around. As far as that stuff, it's a way different. And it being lighter, I can get it into more places.
Yeah.
I plan to do a lot of like skinny water floats with it.
How much is the
And
weight again?
77 pounds,
Okay. Okay.
which, yeah. I know that some people that sound like that's still really heavy. Like, well, in the kayak world, and I'm 6'4", 230 pounds probably. So I'm a big guy. I was gonna get a smaller kayak, but like you downsize and really gives up a lot of stability the smaller you get.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple of different ones, and I'm liking this Crescent. It's pretty nice.
It's been fun to see the industry. You kind of go from fishing kayaks, and now they're even niching down even and further. Like, okay, this is a river fishing kayak.
I love it. Yeah.
You're starting to see that a whole lot more. So I love that you found your niche. Seems to be a lot of success with it, and man, I'm happy for you. It's been a blast. We're at like an hour, which is flown by.
Well,
But before we hop off, if you have a question for John, after I do the lightning round here in just a second. And by the way, my dad is still listening too, so he's not falling asleep. This is great. People are not falling asleep. I'm having a good time. This is perfect. But if you have a question, go ahead and throw that in. We'll kind of end on those. But John, I do lightning round. Basically 5 quick questions, 1-word answers or so. I don't know. I'm not a real strict stickler on that. I think it's kind of fun to kind of run through these. So you ready for it?
go ahead.
All right, here we go. Favorite video you've ever made?
Ooh. I guess first.
The first video. Hey, all right. I like
I
it.
mean, yeah.
Favorite kayak you've ever owned? We might have talked about this already.
Yeah. So yeah, the Old Town PDL 120 has definitely changed my fishing.
Love it. Worst video you've ever made?
Oh, I'm sure it's deleted. I
First.
deleted a bunch. I don't know, because half the times the one I think is the worst ends up getting the most views. So
Yeah, welcome to YouTube. Yeah, you
Yeah.
spend like 50 hours on one video and it gets like 100
Yeah.
views. You spend 2 minutes on one, it goes viral. It's silly. You can only fish one lure in a river, creek. Oh, yeah, is it creek or creek, by the way? I'm adding a new one. Creek or
Yeah.
creek?
It depends on how far out in the country you live.
Tennessee, where you're at.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Yeah, most people call it creek, but yeah, creek's pretty common.
What's the one lure if you can only fish the rest of your life? What would it be?
This is trout magnet.
All right, right on. And the last one, best piece of fishing advice you have ever heard or received?
Ooh, received or heard? Huh, I don't know. That's a good one. I can't. Most stuff that I've done, I've just kind of learned by doing it. I guess is just trying new things. That's like I was real hesitant to try a lot of different stuff. Now it's like, you know what? Why not try something? And I've learned a lot by just trying new lures and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like it. And by one Kush one says it's pronounced crick, by the way. I guess he must live out there in the boonies a bit. All right, so we got a couple questions here. We're gonna finish out our time. Stephen M. Hey John, what's your favorite fish under 6 inches to catch?
Green sunfish.
All right. Any reason why? Or just how beautiful they are?
This is what this is based off of. My logo is based off of green sun because they identify as a creek fish. That's what they are, like the most typical creek fish that you will find. They live in creeks. mostly all the time. They live in some rivers, but basically really small creeks. They push up to the very front, like headwaters of streams, to
Okay.
avoid everything else. And when they're hungry, they will eat anything. They have a big mouth on them.
All right.
Yeah,
Nice.
fun fish.
Got another question here from Untamed Bowman. How much tackle do you bring on your bass float? You keep it in bags, box? I know you're kind of a minimalist when it comes to that, but
Most of the time, if I'm doing a float, I try to, it depends on the water, but like I just got everything loaded up today. I got one what's that thing's called? One of those boxes. I forget the name of it, whatever. But I got probably 10 bags of soft plastics, like one little hard plastic box with a few crankbaits in it and some spinner baits. And if I can't catch them on those, then I probably can't catch any fish. But I'm gonna throw a spinner bait tomorrow, a crankbait, probably a Helgramite, and maybe a yum dinger. And it's probably about it. But I like definitely like keeping it simple. It feels like the less you take and the more simple it is, the more fish I end up catching. Because I take what I'm confident in.
yeah.
Take the confident lures or lures how to fish. Hardly ever do I, unless I'm doing something different. But yeah, the Helgramite. That's one of my favorite lures there.
I like the Tackle HD Helgramites. Those just do really well.
I need to try that. I still haven't tried that yet. Yeah.
No, they're just, I just like the action of them. They're kind of thin, and
Yeah,
so
I've seen
when you
them,
put them on like a Ned rig or something like that, or some type of jig, yeah, they performed well. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our time. 1 hour and 4 minutes. That flew by. So if you haven't done it yet, please help me out. Hit that like button. Help out with the replay. And if you have not done it, you probably already have done it already. Head over to John's page. Hit that sub button. He just continues to put out great content. And the beauty, you know what, John, which I'm impressed by, the videos that suck the most on my channel are the ones of me actually fishing. And so no one ever wants to watch those, but everybody wants to watch yours because that's all you put out there is fishing videos of you fishing.
If I don't have fish caught, people complain of mine. Like, why I didn't see the fish caught?
It's a good day because you actually see the video. You don't see the videos where you don't get skunked. So hey guys, everyone, thanks for watching. Like I said, I got Alex Rudd coming on next week, same time, same place. But hope you have a great rest of the week. And yeah, see you next time. All right, bye.